The Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl, and they could have just screwed the Vikings out of their number one free agency target. Super Bowl 59 is in the books, and the 2024 season has completed. And that means a full transition to the offseason for all 32 franchises, even though the Minnesota Vikings have already been there for the last 4 weeks. One of the big things that the Minnesota Vikings need to fix, the interior of the offensive line. There are multiple ways that they can go about it, but it was last week on 9 to noon with Paul Allen, the flagship radio station for the Minnesota Vikings, KFAN, where Ben Gessling from the Minnesota Star-Tribune talked about the fact that he believes the Vikings will go big game hunting on the interior offensive line, specifically mentioning Trey Smith. I think they'll be pretty aggressive for players like that. I think they're going to be aggressive at guard. He, meaning Trey Smith, is probably at the top of the guard market, which will be expensive. But I think they're going to make a big priority of going after a guard. And I think they would have a lot of interest in getting a guy like Trey Smith in here. So I would expect they'd be heavily involved if he makes it to the market, which he might, because the Chiefs have other guys to sign. And it's very interesting that Gessling kind of framed it that way, that the Chiefs have other guys to sign. They currently have $11 million in salary cap space and only 38 players under contract for 2025. Now, Trey Smith is set to hit the market in a major way. But one of the interesting things about hitting the market for Trey Smith is the last time that the Kansas City Chiefs lost the Super Bowl, their offensive line got decimated. So what did they do? They drafted Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey and signed Joe Thuney, essentially fixing the interior of that offensive line. And because the offensive line ended up getting derailed like they did against the Philadelphia Eagles, maybe they'll try to sign Trey Smith to a deal. Franchise tag is probably out of the question right now because it's $25.12 million, which is $4 million above offensive guard. Now, one of the interesting things about how franchise tag numbers are deducted is it's a position group. So it's the entirety of the offensive line, meaning tackles, guards, and centers are all grouped into one bucket. So even though $25 million is the offensive tackle money, it still matters when it comes to the franchise tag for guard and center. They're probably not going to be able to franchise tag him, but they could sign him to another extension. And let's just be honest here. They need to find a way to protect Patrick Mahomes, and that's probably going to be the priority. Protect Patrick Mahomes. And that could screw the Vikings because he would be the number one target. He's an incredible guard. He would fix right guard, which has been the lingering problem. And Blake Brandel is probably fixed with the return of Christian Darrisaw, especially when you look at the pre-injury and post-injury splits for Blake Brandel. Now this could screw the Vikings. What else is new? I'm Tyler Forness with A to Z Sports. Skol Vikings.